Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 4pixels. Cuckoo is here with my guests, Lamoleon, Cody, and KeaDane, and we are continuing the fourth case in Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's left.
It's lonely being alone on Christmas Eve.
Hold it! So, you turned on the radio?
Right. I just wanted to hear someone's voice, you know. You don't know what it's like out there alone on Christmas Eve, alone.
I shouldn't have said anything.
That's why I was listening to an all requests show on the radio, see?
Hold it! Do you by any chance remember the name of the program you were listening to?
Objection! This has nothing to do with the case, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. The witness was listening to the radio. That is all we need to know. Tell us, Mr. Butts, how loud was your radio set to that night?
I was listening to it real booming loud, like.
Hold it! Real booming loud.
Yeah, you know.
And you had headphones on.
Yep.
I wouldn't think you could hear anything going on outside at all.
But I'm sure I heard that gunshot.
Hold it! Can you prove that? No, of course you can't.
Nah, I can't prove it. But I remember that moment real clear. I mean, while I was talking about it, it came back real clear to me, you know? I remember exactly what the DJ was saying when I heard it, too.
Hold it! What did he say?
Objection, Mr. Wright. Please cease these pointless questions. What possible good could knowing what a radio DJ said to us?
Indeed, Mr. Von Karma has a point. I'll allow the question only if you see some reason why we should care.
We should care, Your Honor. Of course we should.
Why?
Well, how do you know if we don't ask, hmm?
Oh, fine, very well. Mr. Butts, please testify to the court. What was the radio announcer saying when you heard the gunshot?
Just when she said, "Hey, it's almost Christmas," I heard the gunshot.
Hold it! Are you sure?
Of course I am. She had this real sexy voice.
Maybe Von Karma was right. I'm not sure how that helped us at all. This is the most ludicrous testimony I've ever heard.
No, man, it was real sexy.
Real sexy.
It's almost Christmas.
Real sexy.
Merry Christmas, Mr. President. But there is one gleaming ray of hope in there. I've got to press it until we get to the bottom of what happened.
It's lonely being out. Yeah. Oh, that's all that again.
I bet the radio presenter was old bag.
Objection! Bam. Larry, are you absolutely sure what you're saying is correct?
Huh? What's with the face? You look scary, dude. Hey, if you're trying to scare me, you better know I don't scare that easy.
Yeah, sure.
Is something the matter, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor! Did you hear what the witness just said? The DJ said, "Hey, it's almost Christmas," when he heard the gunshot!
Indeed. And...
Almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas! Do you realize what this means? When he heard the gunshot, it was still Christmas Eve!
that would seem to be the case, yes?
But that contradicts the two testimonies we have heard so far, Your Honor. Both Miss Hart and the old man said it was after midnight when they heard the shots. In other words, when they heard the gunshots, it was already Christmas! Dun dun dun. This is a clear contradiction, Your Honor!
Order! And another one! Order! What does this mean? The two prior witnesses heard a gunshot after midnight. However, this witness says he heard a gunshot before midnight.
Judge, the answer is simple. The current witness is plainly mistaken. Just look at him. Suspicious.
What?
He does look suspicious indeed.
Oh, come on.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you think about Mr. Butts' suspicious claim he heard the gunshot before midnight?
The hell you think I'm gonna say? Larry's not mistaken, Your Honor. He heard that gunshot before midnight.
Intriguing. I am assuming you have evidence for this wild claim. Show me the evidence that there was a gunshot before midnight.
Submit the parrot.
This is my evidence.
The murder weapon?
Something about this pistol was bothering me, Your Honor. Both of the witnesses who testified yesterday heard 2 gunshots. However, the murder weapon was fired 3 times. When, then, was the last shot fired? Only now have I realized the truth. That 3rd shot was the shot Larry heard just before midnight!
Rabble, 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 rabble.
Order! I guess that would make sense out of yesterday's testimonies.
Objection! Bah! You waste our time again with your empty statements. Yes, the pistol was fired 3 times. But do you have any proof that it was fired before midnight? Do you have proof that the witness didn't just think he heard something?
Indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, there's no turning back now. do you have evidence that proves there was a gunshot before midnight? Do you have evidence that proves Mr. Butts wasn't just hearing things? Don't forget the L6.
Take that! Look at this photograph. This was taken by our witness yesterday, Miss Lotta Hart, with her automatic camera. The timestamp on the photo reads December 24th, 11:50 p.m.
Oh, yeah? But there's nothing on the lake in this picture.
Your Honor, the real issue here is not why nothing is shown in this photograph. It is why this photograph exists at all.
Oh, but what do you mean?
I'll tell you what I mean, Your Honor. This photograph was taken by an automatic camera. That camera was set to go off in response to loud noises.
Aha!
Correct. There was a loud noise on the lake at 11:50 p.m. That is why this photograph was taken. In other words, there was a gunshot at the time that Larry claims.
Rabble?
Order! Order! That would make sense of the evidence we've seen so far. However, this leaves me wondering when, exactly where... let's start that one again, shall we? I'm going senile. This leaves me wondering exactly what did happen that night on the lake.
Exactly. If this is true, there were two sets of gunshots, separated by 25 minutes. One at 11:50, another at 15 minutes after midnight. Why, I ask you, why?
Uh-oh. I better think of something quick. Wait a second. Gunshot separated by 25 minutes.
Oh, Nick, are you dying? What's wrong? He was shot.
It's a third gunshot separated by a few days.
I have it! I have it!
A bullet in your chest?
Think so.
Huh.
Remember the case with the Steel Samurai?
Uh-huh. Yeah, of course I remember.
The murderer in this case had the same idea as the murderer in that case.
What do you mean?
Maya!
Yes?
Maya!
Yes?
If we don't figure this out now, we'll never overturn Edgeworth's guilty verdict! I've got a hunch, and I'm going to run with it.
No, come back. We gotta solve this.
Right.
And so Phoenix ran to Notre Dame.
I mean, is this safe?
Safe? We've already gotten a guilty verdict. We have nothing to lose. You just watch and let me know if I say anything that sounds fishy, okay?
You're saying something fishy right now, Phoenix. Right, Nick.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Wright.
The testimony just now has cleared up this entire case.
What do you mean, Mr. Wright?
Oh. So you finally realized the truth. There can be no other murderer here than Miles Edgeworth himself.
Wrong, Von Karma. A man was shot that night, but it wasn't Edgeworth who did the shooting.
Listen, Rocky. Take a deep breath and consider the facts. At the time of the murder, one boat was on that lake. This was shown by the witness's photograph. The defendant, Edgeworth, and the victim, Robert Hammond, were on that boat. There was a gunshot fired on that boat, and Robert Hammond fell into the lake. The distance of the shooting was 1 meter. It couldn't have been suicide. Well, the guilty party has to be the other man on that boat.
I admit, it is hard to imagine any other possibility.
Yes. But this assumes that the victim was shot at 15 minutes after midnight.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? We have photographic evidence of the time of the shooting. The timestamp on the photo says 15 minutes past midnight, or 12:50.
But Larry heard a gunshot 25 minutes before that. Robert Hammond was killed then, 25 minutes before the shot on the lake. That's the only way that Edgeworth could be innocent.
Mr. Wright, are you quite mad? Explain who this is. Hold on. Explain who this is sitting on the boat.
Of course, it was Edgeworth and the murderer. After the murderer killed Robert Hammond at 11:50, he assumed the guise of Mr. Hammond and met Edgeworth.
What? Are you serious?
Yes. Edgeworth won't tell us why he went to the lake that night. However, I have a hunch. That night, Robert Hammond called Edgeworth to the lake. Now, Edgeworth didn't know Robert Hammond's face that well. That's why he didn't suspect anything when the murderer took Robert Hammond's place.
I'm not sure what to make of all of this.
Ludicrous.
Mr. Wright, tell us the name of the murderer, then.
The murderer's name? Right. It's...
Miles Edgeworth.
I want to see what happens. Let's take a hit.
Do it! On second thought, that's a really dumb answer. I might get a laugh or two out of the crowd, but that's about it.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Nick? Something stupid on your mind?
Always, huh? Oh, nothing.
Mr. Wright, stop laughing and tell us who the murderer is.
Yes, Your Honor. The murderer's name? Right, it's...
They gave us the illusion of a choice.
Actually, I don't know the murderer's name.
You don't know?
Pa, can you waste my time?
It's frozen. I don't know because he never told us. The murderer is the caretaker of the boat shop. That old man.
That little gasp sounded a little like a monkey.
I was thinking that.
At 11:50, he was the one who killed Robert Hammond.
The caretaker of the boat shop. Where did he do this? There weren't any boats on the lake then.
Why would he have to go all the way out on the lake just to shoot someone?
That's the law.
No land-based shootings, please. May I suggest that the real scene of this crime was not in a boat?
What? Well then, where did the murder take place?
Show the judge where the murder really took place.
Can you find the murder spot?
Sí, podemos!
Here, of course, the boat shop where he lives. That way he could meet with the victim without anyone seeing.
Objection! Do you have proof that the boat shop was the scene of the crime?
Recall Larry's testimony, if you will. That night, he was out on the lake in a boat, searching for something. He finds it and returns the boat. Then, just as he's starting to head for home, he hears a gunshot. He heard a gunshot, Your Honor. Even though he was wearing headphones at the time. In other words, the gunshot was very, very close by. And where would that be if he had just returned a boat?
The boat shop.
You did it!
Yay!
Bueno.
Mr. Wright. What happened that night on Gourd Lake? Please tell the court from the beginning.
Yes, Your Honor.
Nick, are you sure about this?
Do I have to be? Not really. But I think if I start at the very beginning, and I take it slow, I might just be able to figure this out. That night, the caretaker of the boat shop called Robert Hammond to his shop. This was around 11:50. That was when the gunshot that Larry heard was fired. After that, the caretaker put on Robert Hammond's coat. He became Robert Hammond. Then he got in the boat with Edgeworth and went out into the middle of the lake.
Then, who fired the pistol on the boat, Mr. Wright?
Of course, it was the murderer who shot the pistol. He shot twice. Both missed Edgeworth on purpose.
Wait a minute.
Yes?
Why would he shoot twice if he didn't mean to hit anyone?
Details! Details!
Noses, Mr. Wright. The moment you run out of explanations is the moment you lose. Tell us why the murderer had to fire twice.
I believe he shot twice to create a witness, Your Honor.
Create a witness.
the murderer lifts his pistol and fires one shot. That ensures that anyone who heard the shot would look at the lake. Indeed, Miss Hart did exactly that after hearing the first gunshot. Next, the murderer waits a bit, and it lagged. And he fires again. Then, the murderer jumps from the boat himself, leaving the pistol in the boat behind him.
I see. To someone looking from the edge of the lake, it would appear that one of the men in the boat had shot the other.
The murderer didn't know about the automatic camera, of course. That's why he shot twice to draw attention to the boat. Once you realize that, everything else falls into place. The boat shop caretaker swam back to his shop. Then he put Mr. Hammond's wet coat back on the body. And threw the body into the lake. This is what happened, Your Honor. These are the events that transpired that night on Gourd Lake. The end.
It was a beautiful story. Bailiff, bring out the witness from before. The boat shop caretaker, quickly! Very well. While we are waiting for the caretaker, I would like to ask the defendant, Miles Edgeworth, a few questions. Mr. Edgeworth, please take the stand. Mr. Edgeworth, you heard what the defense has said? Yes. Well, why did you go to the lake that night? What Wright has said was mostly correct. Astonishingly so, actually. Yes. Several days ago, I received a letter. The letter was signed Robert Hammond. He asked me to come to the boat shop up by the lake at midnight on Christmas Eve. He said he had something very important to discuss with me. Something important? I'm sorry. I can't say what it was.
Your Honor, sir.
Bailiff, we are conducting a trial here. I ask that you remain quiet.
The witness has disappeared. He isn't at the boat shop either.
What?
What should I do?
Find him, quickly. We cannot allow him to get away.
You don't have to yell.
I'm calling your parents.
Bailiff did nothing wrong.
Justice for the bailiff. Mr. Von Karma, your witness has disappeared.
A search warrant has already been issued.
It goes without saying that I cannot declare a verdict under these circumstances. I will extend the trial until tomorrow, the final day allowed. I request that the police department utilize all its forces to find that witness. Am I understood? One more thing. Just who is that boat shop caretaker? I think his identity has become very important to this trial. I want him and I want to know who he is. Very well. Court is adjourned.
I'd like to get to know him better. Maybe over
Does he
coffee
have
and cake.
Tinder?
Or grinder.
Oh my.
December
I put on my-
27th. Go ahead.
Never mind.
1:22 p.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 2.
Hey, Nick! You did it!
Yeah. Well, at least we got out from under that guilty verdict.
And what about Larry? That sure was something else. Even Von Karma didn't know what to do with his testimony. Larry really helped us out.
Sure. Once I sifted through his unique testimony. Still, he did save us. I just wish our cases weren't so down to the wire all the time.
Hate to break it to you, buddy, that doesn't change.
Wouldn't be much of a game if it wasn't like that.
True.
I know what you mean. Sometimes I feel like it's us on trial instead of our clients.
Hey, Edgeworth.
Hmm?
Mr. Edgeworth?
Ah. Did you say something?
Don't look so pained. I mean, it looks like you're probably gonna get off the hook. You could try to smile, just a little. Relax.
What is smiling? I'm so sorry. But I fear it's not over for me yet.
What do you mean? Did you lose your Linkin Park CD?
It's not just a phase, right? There's something that's been troubling me for a long time now. And I don't know whether or not to lie to you. Or to tell you.
Edgeworth. Lie to me, honey.
I'm so distracted right now. No, there's so little time left. I want to tell you, to get it off my chest, but I love you. I can't make up my mind, though. Gumshoe.
What is this about, Edgeworth?
It's a nightmare.
Of being with Gumshoe.
Sit down, pal. The memory of a crime that I committed.
The crime of cheating on you.
A crime you committed? A crime of passion?
A memory of a murder. I wore white after Labor Day. Is that a thing? We don't have Labor Day in the UK.
I don't know. But with that, we will end this episode right here. Thank you guys for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Peace!
Okay.
Bird.
Oh my.
That was a lot of things that just happened all at once.
Yeah.
This cat. I love it. It's so dumb looking.
Excuse you, it's Mr. Midnight. How
I
dare you
love
say
him
that?
so much. I love him so much. How is he not dead since we ripped his head off? I'm serious.
It's just a flesh wound.
You know, we can put that back on. Oh, good. Better
don't
hurry,
like this.
otherwise.
I don't like
I don't
this.
either.
I don't like this. It's gonna be bad things.
Don't take your pills while you're in here, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, what's that?
There's a bad thing right there. Is that a nun? Excuse me.
Is that button?
Is that buttons?